Backstage, the air smelled like dust and starch. Gowns whispered against each other as people shifted, checked mirrors, adjusted cords they'd earned the long way. Someone's parents pressed close to the barrier, mouths already forming syllables, phones lifted like votive candles. My phone stayed quiet in my pocket. I told myself it was fine. I'd practiced this muscle, being fine, until it moved without thought. When they called my name, it arrived on time and left just as quickly. The walk was shorter than I expected. A hand shook mine, a smile flickered. Applause existed as a concept more than a sound. I smiled back because that's what bodies do when asked. It wasn't painful exactly, it was efficient, a transaction. The stage lights were hot. By the time I reached the stairs on the other side, the moment had already slipped behind me like something misfiled. I didn't look for anyone. I didn't want to perform the scan that would come up empty and then pretend I hadn't noticed. Outside, the parking lot radiated heat and relief. People clustered around trunks and hugs, keys jangling, plans spilling into the afternoon. I stood near a concrete pillar and waited for the delayed reaction my body owed me. It arrived right on schedule. Quiet tears that didn't ask for witnesses. I wiped them with the sleeve of a borrowed gown and laughed once, a sound that surprised me. Not bitter, just incredulous. Of all days. My phone buzzed then. A text, cheerful punctuation intact. We're firing up the grill early. You'll love the spread. Game starts at 6. There was a photo attached, wings arranged like an altar, a cooler open and promising. No apology, no awareness that these two events might be related. I stared at the screen long enough to see the pattern instead of the offense. This wasn't cruelty, it was gravity. Their attention always fell where it fell. I sat on the curb and let the concrete leach heat through my clothes. Pride tugged one way, you don't need them, while longing tugged another, you still wanted it. Both were true. The trick I was learning was not letting either one drive. A bus bench across the lot was empty. I crossed to it, the world narrowing to the space where decisions happen when no one is watching. I opened the airline app I'd downloaded months ago as a fantasy. The prices were worse than last night and better than next month. My hands shook. I checked my balance. I did the math twice. One way made sense because returns were a story I hadn't written yet. The airport felt like a neutral country. Everything there was procedural, blessedly indifferent. At the counter, the agent's smile was practiced, but not unkind. She tapped, frowned, tapped again. There's a change fee, she said, eyes flicking to the screen. It's steep. I nodded. I had already decided to pay. This was the cost of alignment, I told myself. The agent hesitated, fingers hovering. Let me get my supervisor, she said, as if apologizing to the room. The supervisor arrived with a badge that caught the light. She didn't look at me at first. She looked at the screen, at the numbers, at the timestamp. This was the moment where authority either presses down or quietly lifts a corner. She asked a question in a voice designed for fairness. I answered plainly. No story, no tears, just facts. She considered, then typed something that sounded final. We can waive it, she said. There's an earlier flight with a better seat, if you want. It wasn't dramatic. No one clapped. The line behind me sighed. But the shift was unmistakable. A system that didn't know me had just bent in a way that mattered. She slid the boarding pass across the counter. It felt heavier than paper. At the gate, I drafted a message I didn't send. It started neutral, then sharpened, then softened, until it meant nothing at all. I deleted it. Silence, I realized, could be a boundary instead of a bruise. On the plane, I sat upright as the engines gathered their voice. Through the window, the city flattened into geometry. I thought about rent and work and the thinness of a life without a safety net. I didn't romanticize it. I named the fear and let it sit beside me like a passenger who would need managing. As we lifted, my phone buzzed again. Another photo, another exclamation point. I powered it off. There was no victory speech waiting on the other side of the clouds, just a seat, a direction, and the calm that comes when your actions finally line up with your understanding. I didn't celebrate. I breathed. And for the first time all day, that felt like enough.